This conference will now be recorded.
To conduct meetings electronically pursuant to the provisions of Virginia Code 2.23708.2 and related legislation approved by the General Assembly of Virginia during the period of the governor's state of emergency declaration for COVID-19. While we do not know the exact duration of the current practice of electronic meetings, we will continue to function in this manner until such time as it is deemed advisable to return to in-person meetings. Staff provided notice of this meeting and the means by which we are virtually gathered to members of the public through electronic posting on the PlanRVA website and email distribution of notice to members, alternates, and known interested parties, including the media. The meeting will be recorded. Audio and visual recordings of the meeting and materials will be posted on the PlanRVA website within 48 hours of this meeting. Any member of the public participating as an observer during the meeting today may submit comments or questions at any time during the meeting via email at info@planrva.org or by using the online chat functions of the meeting platform. Those individuals who are observing by phone may be called upon to share questions or comments. This meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for members of the public to address this body. All comments and questions submitted during the meeting will be reviewed following the meeting, and to the extent practical, responses will be provided or posted on the PlanRVA website. We ask everyone identify themselves first when speaking so we can more accurately record the activities of the meeting. All lines have been muted by the meeting administrator to minimize additional noise and feedback. You may unmute your line at any time to request acknowledgement from the chair. Staff will be monitoring the chat functions throughout the meeting to assure we do not overlook anyone wishing to participate as appropriate in the discussion. We will now certify that we have followed the approved procedures for appropriate notice of this meeting and the means by which we are convening. Please indicate your presence by saying "here" when your name is called during a roll call. Staff members will be asked to identify themselves, and anyone else who wishes to identify themselves following the roll call of members will be invited to do so. I will now do the roll call.
Very good.
Mr. Blackwood?
Here.
Ms. Gray? Mr. Holland?
Here.
Ms. O'Bannon?
Here.
Ms. Page? Mr. Peterson? Thank you.
All right. Next, thank you for that. And what's the next item on the agenda?
The meeting notes from the May 29th.
29th. Would you like to read those or comment on those?
They were included in the agenda packet. I don't know if anybody has any corrections or comments on the meeting notes from the May 29th virtual meeting that was held.
That's pretty much our minutes, right? Is that?
Yes, ma'am.
Minutes. We don't have a quorum, so I guess we can't really approve them or okay them or anything. So
that's correct. So we'll circle back if need be and do them. If not, at the end of this meeting, at a later meeting. All right. Okay. What's the next item? Financial statement performance through May 20th.
Yes.
Let's take a look at the financial statements.
Okay, so on page 5, you'll see the financial performance for May. Again, we had a very good month, a net income of $49,559, resulting in a favorable budget variance of $43,283. The program income was under budget, $131,000, and the program expenses were under budget, $120,000.
Okay.
Page 6 reflects the line-by-line detail of the May activity. On page 9, we see the balance sheet through May 31st. The fund balance is now at $1,072,929. So again, we are on target to meeting the budget for fiscal year 20. So year to date, there is net income of $204,992.
Okay. And this is as of May, so we have one more month to go. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any additional issues or concerns relative to that that you are aware of at this point? What we expect in June, rather.
I wrapped up the financial statements yesterday with
Very good.
with all the audit adjustments, with the exception of the VRS adjustment.
Mhm.
And Martha hasn't had the opportunity to review these. They haven't been provided to her yet.
Okay.
It looks like it's going to be the same as May. So it's another positive month.
I'm
Very
sorry,
good.
there's an echo. I heard you say it's positive, but there's an echo. And I apologize, I couldn't understand some of what you said, so.
The June financial statements have not been provided to Martha yet for review. So all the year-end audit adjustments have been recorded so far, with the exception of the VRS adjustment. So for now, June looks like it's going to be roughly the same for May, which is $50,000 in net income.
Okay. With regard to the VRS, they provide that information to us. Is that correct? How is that done?
That's correct. They
Okay.
are going to provide that information.
Okay, and we can verify that, and we'll know what last year's was. Is that correct? Last year's adjustment and this year?
Right. The report that VRS provides is through the actuary for June 30 of 2019. It's a year lag.
Okay. All right. Any questions or any other concerns or comments relative to the May financial statements?
I'm just interested in the fact that you haven't been in the office and all that. Is that helpful financially? I mean, you still have to pay rent, but everybody's been at home. I mean, is somebody gonna make comments on that? Just interested.
I believe Martha will probably make comments at the end of the presentation as she talks more about more of the fixing the location to adjust for the COVID-19 and making it safe for employees to return. We have had savings in travel because our staff have not traveled, though they have had the opportunity to attend virtual trainings. On slide 14, you'll see the salaries monthly actual versus the monthly budget. Again, for May, there's a 70% reimbursement rate, which is very strong. It's actually slightly less compared to April due to a holiday. We also have an employee that's been out on medical leave for having her knee replaced. So that reflects also a lower reimbursement rate. Now, slide 15, which is the condensed version of month to year-to-date budget. This reflects that the year-to-date actual is 204,992, resulting in a favorable budget variance of 156,846. Are there any questions about the May 20 financial statements? I think Mr. Holland needs to be unmuted.
You're right. I'm sorry. I was mentioning regarding the prior slide regarding the slides, the blue versus the orange slide. The blue is actual here. We're looking at actual versus again orange, which would be what? What's the orange represent again?
It's budget.
Budget. That's what I thought. Okay, very good. Now, you're about to move into the bank reconciliation
That's correct.
procedures. Could you go over those, please?
The bank reconciliation procedures.
Page 16.
Right, on slide 16. Frequent bank reconciliations are essential to prevent fraud, to ensure the agency funds are handled with fiscal and fiduciary responsibility. It's a key component of good controls over cash and should be done in a timely manner. Reconciling the bank statement balance with the book balance in the general ledger is necessary to ensure that the receipts and disbursements are recorded, which is essential process in ensuring complete and accurate monthly financial statements. Checks and ACH payments are clearing the bank in a reasonable time. Reconciling items are appropriate and are being recorded, and that the reconciled cash balance agrees to the general ledger cash balance. The bank statement is available on the first of each month in an electronic format provided by the SunTrust Online Manager. The bank reconciliation is to be completed by the third business day of the following month using the QuickBooks Online Reconciliation module. To keep cash accounts current, a mid-month reconciliation is suggested. Upon completion of the reconciliation by the office manager, which is Diane Fusco, the Director of Finance will review the bank reconciliation, and upon approval, the Executive Director will sign and date the reconciliation. The preparer and the approver cannot be the same person.
Okay.
Finally, the reconciliations will be filed electronically where they are easily accessible for audit purposes.
Okay. Is there a paper copy of those reconciliations?
There are. They are saved in electronic format.
It's electronic. Okay. And one of the comment on this: when are journal entries made as a result of the bank reconciliation? For example, interest earned would be a classic example. And of course, how long? What's the time span for outstanding checks, outstanding items or debits to the account?
Well,
are there any items over 2 months, 3 months, or whatever?
At this time, as a fraud prevention, the agency is using ACH as a method of payment. We're not issuing checks at this time.
Okay, no checks.
And we also are using credit cards for recurring expenditures, for accounts payable payments.
Okay.
And this allows us to earn a rebate each month for interest.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Please do. Yeah, as I'm thinking.
This says it's proposed and updated. How is this different from what was done in the past? If this is an update or a change?
This
sounds good. I mean, what did we not do before?
This is just something that I put in place
upon
Mr. Holland's request. I haven't been able to see a written document from the past. This is something I'm certainly going to provide our current audit firm as they assess internal controls, but I haven't seen any written procedures from my predecessors.
Yes, my understanding, we had no written procedures at all. It's my understanding. So these are the first. Now, my other question had to do with, for example, we don't have checks. When should journal entries be posted? Because I've seen organizations maybe reconcile and not post the appropriate journal entries to ensure that the cash account, the bank, the books are updated. There's no comment in here as to when journal entries are posted. I assume right after the reconciliation is signed off, and the journal entry should be noted with that reconciliation, the entries are required to update cash per book. Does that make sense?
We have a very tiny interest journal
Okay,
that's done.
right. Okay.
And then we have the bank charges that are recorded.
Bank charges, okay, very
Right.
good.
And our system doesn't receive those as journal entries. They're just items.
Okay, so we don't have to journalize.
Right.
Once it's reconciled.
Right. The only journal entries that we have are there are 2 payroll journal entries that are prepared and posted as of the payroll check date.
Okay.
And then, now that we are on an accrual basis of accounting, I will make monthly accrual journals for the revenue pieces so that we have timely financial statements.
Okay, excellent. Okay, that's very good. Do we have a petty cash?
No, sir.
We had a petty cash. We
No,
haven't.
sir.
Okay. No petty cash. All right. Very good. Okay. Are there other questions or comments on the procedures and anything you think we can do?
My question is, we don't have a quorum. I'm assuming, are we the ones that would approve this and then recommend it to the board? Or does this mean because we don't have a quorum that we just have to do this presentation to the board, which is fine? Is that what we're going to have to do?
These are not procedures that we were looking for board approval. This is our main procedures that we're trying to open more transparency with the committee. You know that we have written procedures since they weren't in place for so long. So if we had a quorum, we would love your action on them, and I think we should carry it over to the board for approval. I think whenever the committee signs off on them, we would want to report to the board that you have reviewed the procedures and are comfortable with them.
Okay, that's why I was asking, because we don't have a quorum. And so should we bring this up at another meeting when there is a quorum, or? I'm just asking. I mean, I think this is really good, and I really appreciate having done everybody having worked on this, whether it be Jim or Terry,
Yeah, we appreciate Terry.
I think this is good. Actually, it might be, in my opinion, it might be a good thing to bring up to the full committee, even if we don't vote on it today. I mean, I don't see where it would be bad to have them to look at it, or just have the committee acknowledge that it's there. It's short. You don't have to read the whole thing, But I think people would like to know that we have this procedure, and then they could take a look at it and say, yeah, that sounds good. And maybe somebody would make a comment. But we don't have a quorum, so we can't vote on it. But I don't have a problem with this coming up as in a committee report, Mr. Holland, if you want to, when the meeting comes up. That's
it's
all.
a good thing to report out. I agree, Pat. It's a good thing to report out and just to share update, as Martha noted. Thank you. I appreciate that. Other comments or questions on it? But I think this is great that we have this in place. I can't think of anything we're missing. If you can think of anything else, Terry, certainly, I know you'll let us know. Make sure that we are able to capture everything. And of course, the reconciliation is very important to make sure that, again, we capture anything that might be an error, mostly errors or any irregularities or errors primarily. So I think we're in great shape going forward. At least that's my understanding. All right.
Great.
Anything else? If nothing else, what's the next item, which is the
Let's see.
where's the
well, it says here personnel information, audit preview.
yeah. How about FTE personnel information? How about that? Is that a line item we need to look at? Terry, what about the FTE
We went through several iterations of
Okay.
putting an FTE
Mhm.
personal complement together. And we decided to continue working on it
Certainly.
because we're fine tuning it.
No problem. No problem with that at all. That's fine. Thank you. How about the audit preview? Any comments there, Dan?
Yesterday, I reached out to Dunlap All Camp and Roads, who is our current audit firm,
Mhm.
and I granted them access to our QuickBooks Online program, and they agreed not to hold me to any of the balances in there right now. They just
Mhm.
wanted to take a peek and look at how the numbers had rolled over from
Mhm.
our prior version. And then from that point, they were going to issue an engagement letter for
Okay.
Martha's signature. And then we were going to schedule the next steps and either the auditor coming on site or working virtually.
Okay. So have you provided them a trial balance with a prior trial balance or the most recent trial balance?
They can pull everything out of the system.
They can. They have access to it.
They
Okay.
have access. They can see all the attachment to all the records, and they can develop their sample of questions.
Okay.
And if there's anything that they can't find in the system, then they'll provide us a list.
Okay. Very good.
Can I have a question?
Yes, please.
Is this, have we put, is this the company we agreed to in the past? I mean, just wondering, do we not put out an RFP to get a new firm, or, I mean, where are we in that process? Because,
Their last year is fiscal year 21.
okay, all right. Because I'm in a couple of organizations, I
Right.
apologize. Some of we have to put it out to RFP or what, I mean, on
Mhm.
an annual basis. Okay, so this is their last year. Okay, thank,
Yes.
all right.
Very good. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And of course, did they indicate they were having any issues with regard to a timeline? Have you provided a timeline to us for that audit?
I am actually pushing them to
Okay.
produce the statements earlier this year as they did in the past.
Okay.
Typically, authorities, boards, and commissions are issued no later than than September 30th.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get back to that time period.
All right. That's good. That's good. People are surprised of their scheduling and issues relative to that.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. How about item 6? Anything there, Martha, you would like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to share with everybody where we are on some things.
Yes.
We have estimates that are forthcoming for carpeting in the office space. We felt like it was a good opportunity while the staff were out of the office to undertake that activity. So I'm waiting for the quote for that to clean the carpets as well as the kitchen floor. That has not been done in my tenure at the office, so I don't know the date that last time, but we felt like we were due. We've also requested quotes for an infrared cleaning system. You all might be aware of some of the new products that are coming out to try to do air through an infrared process. And so we're getting quotes for that. At this point in time, I don't know whether it's something that is even within the realm of affordability, but we're just kind of learning about that. It does appear to be more crew to come in to do human cleaning. We are also talking with the landlord provided cleaning service about what options we have with them as well to increase cleaning protocols. At this point in time, the cleaning service, and I think you all are aware of this, I would say is not the greatest. And so the property owner has assured us that their contact points, elevator, store thing, but the cleaning service is not due to more emptying trash and the bathrooms. So we're looking at various options as we look to reopening on a regular basis. As far as improvements go, we've ordered a prototype and have tested it as of last week. It's a 3D print device that can attach onto door knobs and handles that can actually, it's an elbow pull or a forearm pull so that you don't have to put your hand on the doorknobs. We have the levers in our office or the vertical pulls. So we're testing that to see if that's a good option for us. We've also got a contractor who has been into the office to take a tour to look at opening some additional. To be honest with you, I have a mixed review from staff members as to whether or not they think that that's something that they would like to see happen or not. We have 2 offices that will continue to hold multiple people, that we're able to achieve the more 6 feet physical distancing. And in both of those offices, the staff members that occupy them are not desirous of the additional quotes to come back to get a final decision on that. I've been in providers in the process of reviewing our reopening guidelines. It's modeled heavily after what local governments are doing. Any guidelines that could get together from the Region Tourism and some of our other kind of regional peer organizations, we're all kind of comparing notes behind the scenes. Obviously, taking into consideration, some of us are like we are in a multi-tenant building versus others who are in buildings where they have more control over the systems, heating and cooling, as well as in the attendance and comings and goings of other people into the building. We're all probably going to end up with different guidelines, but we've been staying close for 8 weeks to talk through things that we're going to be putting into place. Our staff met last week as a whole staff to review those draft guidelines and sort of talk through, frankly, what it would take for people to feel comfortable coming back to work, and counsel and insurance about things like checks and masks, about that in a way that will and enforced. And so I'll keep you posted on that. At this point in time, I would say that the costs are relatively small that we have incurred. We did purchase some air purifiers. The HVAC system in our building is not terribly old, but it's not, one of the new high-tech ones that they're talking about. The literature on air quality and the potential of transmission of the virus is still largely, I think, unknown to most people. So our property owner feels confident in the HVAC system. The overall airflow and ventilation in our office is somewhat limited because the walls were built after the HVAC system was installed. So we're trying to be conscious and mindful of it. We think that the air movers and air purifiers that we've purchased will help to improve air quality concern space, again, within a moderate investment. We've done, markings. We've eliminated chairs from many of the common areas. We've limited the number of areas where people can convene in groups. And so all of that is underway. I think we have a handful of staff members who are eager to come back into the office because of the type of work that they do. We have another group of staff members who are eager to come into the office intermittently so that they can interact with each other. As you can imagine, the computer virtual is not the ideal way to communicate. So we're trying to provide that space for them to do that when they need to. Also encouraging our staff, when it's possible or appropriate, to meet outside. If the inside office environment isn't comfortable, we're working with them to identify alternative sites that could happen. So same thing as we look to try to accommodate in-person meetings of the board and committees again. We're identifying a list of sites where we think we can accomplish the physical distancing and the phase 3 guidelines from the governor's office, but do that in a way that we can still accommodate virtual participation for those who need it, but those of the board or our various committees who are interested in getting back together in person could do so. So more to come on that in August, but those are some of the things that we're looking at as far as office reopening. Anecdotally, at the beginning in May and the beginning of June, a number of our peer organizations back around July 1st. Almost all of them have delayed that. Back in smaller numbers, smaller frequencies. GRP, MTA, Richmond Region, them are continuing to promote allowed work. During this time, are also having people coming back in different situations in that regard. A number of groups have also decided to after Labor Day. So we're in the mode right now where we think we're going to be ready to have staff members come back by the end of July, but it'll be elective, and we will still continue to support staff members in remote work as well. So I can answer questions, or if you have any, that would be helpful to share from you, what you know. I do, Mr. Holland, get Dr. Casey's daily email, and he has been really great about sharing different policies that the county has adopted over these last 15 weeks. So that has been helpful as we work to, kind of form our own policies. If there's information that we should be looking at, please feel free to share that.
Well, thank you, Martha. I appreciate that. That's probably good that you are working and monitoring that and making decisions on when you will reopen and how you will reopen. In the county of Chesterfield is doing similarly. We'll be bringing some people back in August, for example, part-time who were furloughed. So in that regard, but yeah, that sounds pretty thorough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to mention too, we have heard from 3 state agencies, the Department of Transportation, which, as you know, has central office, as well as the district offices, Department of Environmental Quality, which has sort of a centralized and decentralized model, and the Department of Housing and Community Development. All 3 of those state agencies are going to continue to work in a remote work situation through the end of the calendar year. To be honest, there's 2, I think, takeaways to me for that. One, it means that when we think about concern from our funders, we know that our funders are not going to be concerned about remote work of their expertise. So that is comforting that they will continue, I think, to work with us and recognize that many of our staff might be in a virtual setting. But I would also say that the state decisions may largely be costs and the timing of their various lease agreements. So I think that there's more at play in some of the decisions of the large state agencies than the virus itself, but more around some of the plans that the General Services Administration had anyway. Locate, and in some regards, this is a timely opportunity to take advantage of as they were looking to do their own building renovations and other things to try to curb costs for the state. So we're watching that carefully, though, as well, to sort of understand how those decisions might impact us. I'll move on to number 7, the long-term space planning effort. As you know, our lease expires in October of 2022. And so we're at the very beginning of this process. We have, as you remember, engaged Brian Berkey with Tallheimer Cushman Wakefield, the commercial real estate firm. And he has shepherded us through a process to evaluate proposals from 3 different space planning firms here in town. We completed those interviews in April and had a kickoff meeting with the selected firm Baskerville. They were the most affordable and best fit firm for us. And we just had a kickoff meeting last Monday with them. The next step in that process will be for them to do an intensive survey process with all our staff members to understand how they perceive space needs to be over the long term. It's a 3-phase process. One will be an intense person discussion with our senior leadership team, so all of the staff members who provide supervisory responsibilities, plus Diane, you will be able to participate in that as the office manager. And then after that, we'll have an all-staff survey option where every member of staff will have the opportunity to give input on our future space needs. And then we'd love to be able to engage this committee as well in that process to talk particularly about the meeting space and what you think our kind of primary needs need to be as we look at our future plans. So we're really just now this is the committee to oversee that process. So I would like to just an update every time you get together on where was that.
Okay, that's very good. And of course, I recall when we discussed those firms, they put together a timeline for us, and are we utilizing, Martha, a timeline of where we want to be time-wise as we move forward? Do we have that still in mind?
We do. We're on track. I think the committee wanted to be able to send or leaving, but so that
I can't.
We would be.
You're breaking up, Martha.
I apologize. I'm sorry. We are on track on the timeline.
Okay, we're on track. Okay, that'll be a good thing to keep us abreast of as to where we are relative to the timeline at each meeting that we're meeting on, so that we can make sure that we are not behind schedule per se.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions there, Pat? Anyone? Nolan, Pat, anyone? Any questions?
I've got just one kind of in general, and I apologize because I've missed a couple meetings. What, Martha, are you getting feedback from any of the municipal agency governments about, funding and forward looking and, these budgets? I mean, are you waiting to revise those?
Great question. This current just reduced assessment from 55 cents per capita to 50 cents per capita. That 10% decrease is relatively small, honestly, for most of the jurisdictions, but it is our effort to support the budget shortfalls that might be anticipated. Each of the localities, as well as PlanRVA, are going to be reviewing our budget quarterly to monitor and this committee will be reviewing our financial statements at the end of the first quarter, and we'll bring up recommendations for how we might need to adjust as soon as possible after the close of the year. And we'll do that each quarter of the fiscal year. Our current fiscal year that started July 1 is number of our revenues are already confirmed and are awarded. So we feel pretty solid in that. Fiscal year might be depending on the conditions of the economy.
Can everyone hear okay? I'm not hearing it well. Hey, Nolan, did you get what answer to your question?
It sounded like it sounded like they were on track and then continuing to revise quarterly, which is my understanding.
Right, absolutely. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? It looks like we're deteriorating in terms of communications. We're not going to be able to vote because we don't have a quorum. So we'll just document as we have done thus far. Any other comments or questions or suggestions? Yes, Terry.
Martha and I had discussed the idea that we try to get a permanent meeting date for this committee.
Okay. I think that's a great idea. If we could do that, that would be very helpful.
I was thinking maybe it should be after the full commission meeting each month.
Do we need to have anything to present to the commission? Why will we be after versus before?
Because we need 10 days to get the packet out.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
The financial statements are usually done by the 7th business day of the month.
Okay.
But to prevent confusion, we were leaning toward having the discussion after the full commission meeting for the month.
Okay. What's your pleasure, group? What's your pleasure and thoughts on this?
Maybe the Tuesday after the full commission meeting, if that would meet the schedules. And then
Well,
also,
I will say this, Tuesdays, I have that second and fourth Tuesday, we have tons of meeting. Which Tuesday would it be? I mean, every second and fourth Tuesday, I've already got something I can handle.
how does the 3rd Tuesday sound, or even another day?
Third Tuesday would be okay. Any other day, just, could you maybe line up 2 or 3 possible dates and send them out to the committee and we can do voice, for instance?
Yeah, it's especially for the members who are not present too, so that they'll be able to weigh in. That would be a great idea, Pat.
Or maybe we could poll a date for everybody to select, just as you're saying, Mr. Bannon. And also, we wanted to, Martha had planned to talk a little bit about the nominating committee process. And we were hoping to work with the new chairman with a permanent meeting date to discuss the agenda ahead of time as well.
In the past, all the chairman, and when I've been chairman a couple of times, but when the chairman was, when you were someone as the chairman, we would always meet with the director ahead of a week before, I think it was. Well, before it went out, before the agenda went out, I'll just put it that way. And we would add or subtract things from the agenda. The chairman would take things out or rearrange it or mention that somebody was given too much time to speak and suggest that they not speak as long. All kind of things, whatever. But it was always the chair, whoever was chairman that year with the director, and they'd meet before the packets went out. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Terry. Anything else, Martha, you'd like to add, or Diane?
No, that's all for me. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all today. We appreciate your being here. And I'm sorry we didn't have a quorum, but we'll forge ahead. The good news is that we're moving forward, financially strong, and we're doing well. That's the great news. And we expect to continue even through June as well, June 30th, end of the fiscal year, and a great audit. So great job, everyone. And we appreciate all you're doing. Martha, thanks so much for all the other items with regard to office reopening. Now, so we appreciate that very much. Thank you all so very much again today for your attendance and your input.
Thank
There
you.
is nothing else. I guess we can't vote ourselves out either. So we are herewith adjourned. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Today. Take care, everyone.